In a country bruised by corruption, caught between the East and the West, and haunted by the shadow of war, one man emerged from a stage not a battlefield to lead his people. He wasn't a general, he wasn't even a politician, he was a comedian. But in the darkest hour, Volodymyr Zelenskyy became a symbol of courage for the world. Born on January 25, 1978, in Kryvyi Rih, a gritty industrial city in Soviet Ukraine, Volodymyr Alexandrovich Zelenskyy grew up far from politics or power. By his late teens, he became immersed in Ukraine's version of improv comedic AV, on a wildly popular Soviet-era comedic competition that blended skits and wordplay. By the early Wartime 95 was one of the most watched entertainment groups in Ukraine, blending humor with social commentary. Zelenskyy wasn't just a funny guy, he was smart, strategic, and deeply aware of the issues facing ordinary Ukrainians. And Zelenskyy had the gift. His parents were academics. His father was a computer scientist, and his mother an engineer. The premise was bold, ironic, and ultimately prophetic. Tired of lies, tired of poverty, tired of leaders who served themselves. He used social media, humor, and direct appeals to the people, and it worked. A comedian had just become the real president of Ukraine. He played a high school teacher who, after ranting about corruption, unexpectedly becomes a president of Ukraine. The war in the eastern Donbass region had already claimed thousands of lives. He reached out to world leaders, but despite his efforts, tensions grew. The annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014 had shaken the region, and peace remained a distant dream. The show was a smash hit. Audiences laughed, but they also nodded in agreement. Even Russia assumed it could decapitate Ukraine's leadership quickly. The character was everything they wished for. Honest, humble, and brave. Jewish by heritage, Zelenskyy's family had survived the horrors of World War II. The full-scale invasion of Ukraine had begun. Their past was defined by struggle. So was their future. He became a symbol of resistance, of courage, and of unexpected leadership. At first, many dismissed it as a publicity stunt. He addressed the European Parliament, the U.S. Congress, the United Nations all, from a city under siege. His words were powerful, his defiance unshakable. Air raids, bombings, civilian massacres, the tragedy of Bucha, the siege of Mariupol, families torn apart, children killed, cities reduced to rubble. After all, how could a comedian with no political experience challenge entrenched oligarchs and career politicians? Zelenskyy was a bright student, but his interest soon drifted toward the stage. Under his leadership, Ukraine secured billions in aid and weapons from the West. NATO unity strengthened, sanctions against Russia tightened, and most importantly, Ukrainians stood united. He formed a comedy troupe called Wartime 95 with his friends. It started as a side project, but soon it exploded into a national phenomena. He embraced soldiers. He wept with mothers. He led with his voice and his presence. But no one could have predicted what came next. Some questioned his decisions, his wartime censorship, and whether democracy was being compromised for survival. Not under SARS, not under Soviets, and not under Putin. In 2015, Zelenskyy starred in a new television show, Servant of the People. But in 2018, the fiction turned into reality. He shared the honor with the spirit of Ukraine, the millions who resisted, fought, and suffered. In a move that stunned the political elite, Zelenskyy announced he would run for president. He became the voice of defiance, the soul of a nation, and a reminder that sometimes the right person shows up at the most unlikely time. But Zelenskyy knew something they didn't. The people were tired. Running under the banner of a new political party named after his TV show Servant of the People, Zelenskyy campaigned on anti-corruption, unity, and reform. In April 2019, in a landslide victory, Zelenskyy defeated incumbent President Petro Poroshenko, winning more than 70% of the vote. But the laugh stopped quickly. He was a performer, a joker, a son of an ordinary family who stumbled into history. Zelenskyy inherited a nation plagued by Russian aggression, internal corruption, and a divided society. Zelenskyy tried diplomacy. He held direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Then came the moment that changed everything. February 24th, 2022. In the early hours of the morning, Russian missiles lit up the sky. Columns of tanks crossed the border. The world expected Kyiv to fall in days. Western intelligence predicted Zelenskyy would flee. But Zelenskyy didn't run. When the United States offered to evacuate him, he responded with a line that became legendary. "The fight is here. I need ammunition, not a ride." It was a turning point not just for Ukraine, but for the world. Dressed in military green, broadcasting from Kyiv's streets and bunkers, Zelenskyy transformed into a wartime president before the world's eye. Day after day, he appeared in videos, speaking directly to Ukrainians and the world. He became the face of a nation refusing to surrender. But behind the image was a man who bore the weight of unimaginable decisions. And yet, Zelenskyy didn't waver. He rallied allies. He visited But being a hero comes with cost. His critics accused him of media manipulation, of centralizing power, of silencing dissent. Zelenskyy faced an impossible balance: protect his people, defend his country, and uphold democratic values, all while missiles rained down. Yet, through it all, his resolve remained. In 2023, Time magazine named him Person of the Year. Even as the war dragged on, Zelenskyy kept pushing for peace, but not surrender. His message was clear: Ukraine would never be a colony again. In a world full of polished politicians, Volodymyr Zelenskyy stood out as raw, real, and resolute. He wasn't raised in a palace. He didn't come from a dynasty. And in that history, he carved out a place no one expected. Volodymyr Zelenskyy became more than a president. He once made people laugh. Now, he helps them believe.